I'm ready.
Alright.
Started.
Welcome everyone to the second edition of the Not Even Community podcast. I'm joined today by Lorantine. Say hello, Lorantine.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by our special guest, Snoogms.
Hello, everybody.
Right. So today we're looking into the brand new future game mode that may possibly or not possibly be permanent to the game, Dead Zone. And we'll start off our questions with a simple one for Snoogms. Hello, Snoogms.
Hello.
What was, in your opinion, the hardest part in your designing of Dead Zone? What was the hardest thing to get right?
That's super easy. I don't know. I think at the very onset where the kind of just, can we shrink a game balanced and developed and meticulously tested for a very long duration? Can we shrink it down to what amounts to be 0.23% of the time from 10 weeks to 4 hours? So just kind of getting your head around all the things that need to be, like, you had to cut a lot of fat out. I think just the onset of the planning was probably the hardest part. But I don't think I don't think I've gotten to the hardest part of this yet.
Well, what do you think the hardest part will be then?
It's going to be making sure that the several new ways you manage your empire is going to be balanced, and that all the factions have a place in the game mode, and they all offer a unique playstyle, and they all kind of complement each other. Right? So yeah, it's just about getting the flavor and the pacing and the balance right. That's going to be the hardest part.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like quite a challenge.
But so basically, what inspired you for this game mode was just have the game, but then a lot quicker.
Well, it was actually Grete who started talking out loud about, like, how would Starborne play in an 8-hour game? And my immediate reaction was 8 hours too long, let's make it 4. And we kind of hyped each other up, like, talking about it for a while, like, and we got to a point where we think that this might actually be just a super cool addition. Like, it's not going to compete with Starborne Sovereign Space because it plays differently, and you can actually play this while playing Sovereign Space. So Dead Zone, it's the challenge of creating something absolutely new for the players, and the challenge of taking the existing framework we have created around Starborne and using it to create something new with as little effort as possible. So that's actually the test that's being run here. Can we take this mammoth of a game with all its nuances and shrink it down and create something that feels different, plays different, but it's still kind of set in the same theme? It's important for us because Solid Clouds has no wish to be a one-trick pony. We eventually want to have a variety of products for our players. So to do that, we need to be able to use the framework that we have to create something new. And Dead Zone is kind of proof of concept for that.
So the idea was so that when we're playing Starborne, like we're doing our attacks and stuff, we go, hey, we can log onto this other game mode here and we can play a mini game while we're also playing Starborne. So it's not mutually exclusive games.
Yeah, not only that, just like eventually we'll use the framework from Starborne to create entirely new games.
I am very excited for any new game modes, or even just different game modes on Starborne Sovereign Space, different objectives and different map win conditions are going to be something that interests me a lot in the future.
We are also super excited about this.
Right, and now to ask the question which I've been wanting to ask the most is, for both Snoogms and Lore, what is the mechanic that you like the most that has been advertised so far from Dead Zone? We'll start with Lore. What mechanic do you think you're going to look forward to using the most that's been introduced?
Well, personally, I'm all about the radiation, but
so the player spreading of the radiation, you mean?
yes.
Okay.
Like, first of all, the radiation, just tactical usage of radiation, not just showing it, or like actually counterplay, trying to avoid it, or. Uh, but like the thing that's most exciting is not just the radiation; it's how all the four factions come together. You have Night Corps jamming down radiation on, say, habitation domes. You have Surpassum, who will try to clean the radiation. Meanwhile, Gatos Fritos will possibly or probably take down the early game. And less Apaches, with their special movements, they're probably gonna become very strong in late game. So
Yeah, I actually have to agree with your opinion on that.
So it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything, but radiation as well. Snoogms, what mechanic are you looking forward to?
Well, I have to say I'm a big fan of the factions having something special, something new, not just some stat adjustments. So Nightcore and Le Apaches are both very appealing to me. I think something new that you're going to encounter in that zone is the passive generation of credits. Credits are now something you have to manage, and increasing the output of credits either by a building or capturing axes on the map that produce credits is going to be something of consequence, because to best play that zone, you should be ready to swap out cards on your fleets. And for that to be a thing in such a short play mode, the card options available to players have been drastically reduced. They're not gone. There's just like there are no time cards and no common cards, but that's because like you need to make decisions a lot faster in that zone than Sovereign Space, and we don't want the decision tree to be too deep or too wide, but we still want a decision tree. So managing your credits is something that is going to be fun to see if that actually becomes a cool thing or not. So Gato's Fritos ability is actually really good in the early game.
The changes to credits are actually quite interesting because you've got a static amount of credits per hour, right? And then the addition of one of the factions gets bonus credits, right? If I remember correctly. But I'm actually kind of worried from my own playthrough when I play the game to see what I'm going to spend my credits on. I'm worried, am I going to spend it wrong? Am I going to be too indoctrinated into playing Starborne to actually play the test of Dead Zone properly? And it's kind of worrying for me, to see what I need to spend my credits on. You got to ration them out and see what goes where.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I want your credit expenditure to be decision-based. And those hexes on the map that give you more credits, they should be that you should feel that they're appealing. And the building that gives you more credits, it's set up against other buildings that are very powerful as well. So having access to more credits and then upgrading your card pool or just having the correct cards on your stations is going to be something that you should want to do and kind of feel like you have to get more credits.
So there's going to be a lot more choice with credits then, right, than the actual game right now. There's going to be less of a meta and more of a choice in where you want to go with your credit expenditure? Yes. Or would it be you actually have to fight to get those credit spots on the map that you've hinted at?
Yeah, so like if you want to be able to swap out class bonus, which increases the extra damage units do against other units that they have class bonus against. Let's say like you have a fleet carded for class bonus and double firepower, and you want to give them stealth because you want to raid somebody stealthily, or maybe somebody has a target for you which you can bomb with stealth. So that means that you have maybe 5-6 fleets, and you want to swap out, 6 cards and put in six stealth cards. That means that you have to obviously own 6 cards of both types. So if you have a lot of credits, you might have epic versions in both types. If you have very little credits, they might only be rare of each type. So it should impact how you the choices you make are going to be restricted by the credits and how you spend them.
That is very glad for me to hear. There's going to be a lot of decisions to be made and a lot more different gameplay to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the game will actually plan out.
Oh, me too. I'm also nervous. I mean, if I can do some manage some expectations here, this is very much a prototype. There's going to be a bunch of balance issues for us to solve, a bunch of the map design to address. It's gonna be as always with Solid Clouds and its players. We want your feedback from you guys. Like, what do you think? What needs to happen? Is this interesting? So it's gonna be like a massive, fun play test for the people who get invited to take part, because they have, and of course, everybody who watches and pays attention, feedback from everybody is welcomed.
So, expanding onto what you just said, how does a person apply to play Dead Zone right now?
Right now, you can't. I will make some framework around that in the next week. But what we do know is that it's going to be limited to 125 people. Our content creators and community volunteers are going to be given preference. I don't think they will fill up the map, so the more that apply, the better, because we want to fill up all 5 maps with 25 players. So it's probably going to be... I'm probably just going to get Excel to put up an Excel sheet and let people apply. It's just good. And these people will probably be giving special access in their launchers, so they have to... What our super testers are used to, they log out of the launcher, then log into a different domain to get access to the dev servers and test servers and stuff like that. So it's going to be something like that. So we're going to get a list of people's players' accounts. We're going to give them special access, and when the day comes, they can log in and see the server.
Do we have any an official date yet? Is that something we have?
No. So I go on holiday in July, and the aim is that these 2 days of Dead Zone are completed before I go on holiday. If I have to postpone my holiday by a couple of days, that's fine. So, like, if we don't make it before the end of June, then early July, like the first week of July. That's as close as I can put it right now.
I'm happy to hear that, because that means it's sooner rather than later, and I'm looking forward to playing it. You've teased it so much, and the artwork's been done so well that I just want to get in and explore the game mode.
Yeah, I actually want to give out a shout out for the artwork, especially the board enclave with the children.
Yeah, I've got Nightcore and Gatos Fritos, the first iterations of them. If you guys want to see.
Oh yeah, please. If you'd like to show us that.
If you don't want to see, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure everyone would like to see.
Let me see. So again, this is like the artist's first pass on these. That there is work to be done here, just so that you are aware. Let me see. So this is the best picture I have right now. So the top picture here, that's the Nightcore. So what we're attempting to get through with the illustration for Nightcore is the duality of Nightcore, this evil, nefarious CIA torturing in the background, and this beautiful front-facing thing that they have, like as public service agencies. So there is still work to be done here, but you can see like there's a garden and bright lights in the background. Probably that's going to get highlighted with a good feeling, and these dark figures here on the right, they're going to be made to look more nefarious. So that's what the purpose of this drawing is supposed to be. Gatos Fritos, on the other hand, they are a bunch of psychotic punks. And oh my goodness, you're gonna lose your stuff. So this is where we're at with Gatos Fritos at the moment. So it's a scene from a Gatos Fritos habitat. There's a guy dancing or trampling on his head, depending on how you see it. We have a couple kissing here in the left side. We have this cow. There's a fire in a drum barrel. And then we're going to add some more more scenarios into the crowd, like people actually fighting, or it's going to be like there's going to be a bunch of small scenes to look at in here.
This seems like a lot of chaos. I love it.
Yeah, that's very gatos fritos. So we were thinking about maybe dressing the cow up in gimp clothes or branding it with a gatos fritos logo. We'll see. There's gonna be we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. I know that Drekal, the artist, is super enthused about this one. This
artwork is fantastic. It's a really high quality of artwork, like all the artwork in the game. It looks amazing.
Thank you. You gotta understand about this right now. It's like you can see how abstract it is because it's not really meant for this size. Let's see if I can just do this. So like this is kind of even smaller. This is kind of the size you would see it in the game, and then like the abstract part of it just kind of blends in, becomes details instead. But like I said, there's still a lot of work to be done on these faction pictures. They won't even be fully ready when we have the player test, but they'll be much further along.
I must say, if I see any boy children on that artwork, I'm gonna tilt so hard.
poor children. Just trying to find a new homeland.
Yep.
So can I ask a question to you two?
Oh, of course, yeah, go ahead.
I wonder what you two are expecting, what will happen on the first Dead Zone servers once it's up. Like, what do you think the starting gameplay will be? Just radiation spam, or?
Do you want to go first, Snoogms, or do you want me to go first?
You go first.
So, how I reckon it'll play out will be, is everyone wants to test everything. So I don't think there'll be too much try-hard for the first couple of hours. But I reckon there's going to be people getting their footwork and experimenting with the mechanics. But there's going to be plenty of people who will meme. Like, for example, I'm planning to only build industrials and spread radiation everywhere, like the plague, until I'm eventually destroyed. I'm going to spread it everywhere, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sure other people will also be doing this sort of thing. And I'm really looking forward to see how people go, hey, my entire claim's coded radiation. Do I go fix that radiation? Do I kill the source, then fix it? How do I play against that radiation mechanic? Do I have to go after them? Or do I have to fix my stuff, then go after them? Or what's going to happen with this interaction? How many indies do I have to build to counter it? Do I have to go bots? And it's kind of like the decision-making of how people are going to play the game. And I reckon it's going to turn out to be... Every server is going to be completely different, I reckon, depending on how everyone wants to go in.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's because like before the Dead Zone server starts, there's going to be a 10-minute grace time where you can look at the map, you can put down pins and kind of plan the way you want to play it. And you don't know which factions there's going to be. You can try and get people to reveal it in the global text chat while you're waiting for the 10 minutes to count down. But it seems to me that waiting for somebody else to build first is good, because then at least you can build somewhere where you know you won't have conflict of claims. But you can't wait forever either. So if there's a lot of Nightcore players around you, then that's gonna make board players very powerful, because they don't need to build any more industrials. Their industrials move so fast, so they can easily clean up the radiation that the Nightcore player is sowing. And if there's a lock between those two, then Le Apaches might actually be like by far the best, because like if you have Nightcore and board players, then they're probably spent, like you only have 10 fleets, right? So if you spend 3 of those fleets on industrials, then it's gonna hurt your combat firepower, right? So being Le Apaches and kind of forcing, like a Nightcore player probably only has 2 unit classes, so you could force conflict between the one that you are vulnerable to, and then go to town. But we'll see.
One thing I'm actually very looking forward to is, are we going to be able to get the post numbers of what percentage of people went each faction? That's something I'm going to be very interested in. How many people pick this faction? How many people pick this faction? What interests the player base the most? That's something I'm definitely be interested in.
Yeah, and like if you expect everybody to be super enthused about sowing radiation, so You just pick boards if that's your anticipation, and then you go like, wait, everybody's gonna be expecting everybody else to be Nightcore, and then people are gonna counter it with boards. So I'm just gonna go gatos fritos and going to raid somebody from the start. I'm just gonna kind of make sure that my first neighbors don't have a chance, and I can build in their area. And then the fourth guy comes in. Well, I'm just gonna be like Apaches and kill all of you.
I mean, there is an important question we have to ask here. Can you put radiation on yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, nothing's stopping you from it.
Perfect. I'm asking for a friend.
Perhaps it's an idea to actually radiate yourself so no one else can, and then right before one of your attacks hits, you just immediately have an ally clean you.
That's an interesting concept, actually. Can you radiation dodge by radiationing first? That's interesting, actually. How would that interaction work, Snoogms?
If two radiation spots are placed on the same hex, they're both there. I think you can put a source hex on top of another source hex. So the middle of the radiation is called the source hex. That's where you clean it up, and when you clean up the source hex, you clean up like the entire fleck of radiation, regardless of how much of a radius it has. So if somebody puts a 1 hex radius somewhere and you put a 3 hex, then it's just going to be a 3 hex radiation.
Wait, so maximum radius on the radiation is 3, right?
Yes.
And
it's set at 3.
That scales with both removal and placing with cargo space for radiation, right?
Yes, so you need more cargo. So basically, if you have one industrial fleet with the legendary cargo card, it can do a 3 hex radius.
So we have a question in chat from the Exemplar. Do ships get damaged or slowed when going through radiation?
No. The only effect that radiation has is that it outclaims players. You lose claim on hexes. So that is part of the victory condition. So that is a way that, like, if you are tight and you are suffering from radiation, you need to remove the radiation to get all your claim in. It also, of course, like, if it outclaims hexes that you are gathering resources from, that becomes null and void for you. So and because of the way the map is done, resources are now more like clumped together rather than spread out like evenly across the board. So a good radiation from a Nightcore player perspective would take out, maybe a clump of ice or a clump of resources from somebody.
So if a resource node is irradiated, does it disable that resource node?
Well, it's just outclaimed, just like another player has outclaimed a hex, you can't harvest from it.
Okay, so if it's radiated, you can't harvest from it, right?
Yep.
That's going to be very important.
Built on it. You can even plop down radiation if you see somebody's coming to build a station, and make them bounce back.
There's going to be some definitely fun interactions with radiation.
Okay, so
yes, and I'm sure we'll find out some that weren't intended.
So radiation disables hexes and planets, outposts, and it can even dodge stations.
It does not outclaim stations or outposts. Like, your outpost still works, but your outpost, if it's harvesting something, it won't harvest it. So, like, your Stargate still works, your lockup still works, your habitation dome still works, even though the hexes that they are harvesting from don't give them anything.
So, just like a HSA next to moons, those moons being outclaimed would force them to have their normal production, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's actually... It seems really strong, but there's also counterplay even with every faction can counterplay it at the cost of a few industrials.
Yes. So the hope is that the industrial cost is something you feel annoyed having to deal with, but doesn't feel like it's going to ruin your game.
And then obviously Bortz has the free removal.
Yes.
But there's still the time of having your fleets dealing with the problem.
Yes, that's why they have the extra speed.
Wise Old Master asks in chat, will there be some sort of account progression in that zone, like policies?
We aim to have all Starborne concepts or Starborne products linked together with account progression, but we're nowhere near that. We're just trying out the game mode like as a standalone thing right now.
So
but yes, the idea is that if you play Starborne Sovereign Space and you get some cool badges that give you some effects, they would carry on into other Starborne play modes.
So in the future, yes, but for now, perhaps not.
No, right now though, the blueprints that you researched, they still work here. So it's going to be cheaper to craft some cards. So there's something in here that's from your account.
That's interesting, definitely. But there is one question I do feel obligated to ask Snoogms. And what's the probability of radiation being carried over into actual Starborne, depending on how the test goes here?
That basically depends on you guys. How much you like it, how much it, how does it feel? Is it fun? This is a prototype, and you're all invited to give your opinions on it and try it out.
Question from Roadhip as well, Snoogms. Are there any unique cards in Dead Zones?
Yes. So we have the class bonus cards for fleets. So fleets, there are no longer any half cards. You know the way you have a 5-power card for your hardpoint slot? That's what we call a full 5-power card. And you can put a 5-power card in your whole slot that's like half the value, right? When you double card for 5-power.
Yeah.
Those half-value cards no longer are not in that zone. But on the flip side, the full cards now both fit hardpoint and hull slots. So you can double card now, but it's only one card. That's part of like reducing the decision tree, like still having decisions. So you can put a full hit point card into your hardpoint slot and a full 5-power card into your hull slot. It doesn't matter, or you can double card for HP or 5-power or what have you. Bombing.
There's definitely going to be a lot of decision making, and I do love that.
Yeah, the trick is that it like the decision tree cannot be too deep, but it still needs to be there.
Tristan asked, at the start we have 10 minutes to check the map. Do we choose a faction before or after those 10 minutes?
That's interesting.
Like at the start there's 10 minutes to check the map. Do you choose a faction before those 10 minutes or after?
So when the 10 minutes are done, you cannot play until you pick a faction. But you
Amazing.
Can pick your faction at any point in those 10 minutes, but once you've picked it, you cannot change.
That's actually something I was also intending to ask about holding off a faction choice until you can abuse the faction. Yes, that's very, very good. And there are no faction changes at all, right? None at all.
No faction changes.
Perfect. So if someone's gone Night Corpse and is irradiating everyone, they're going to keep irradiating everyone until they die. I'll do one more question that I was wondering before we go to the floor. How soon do you reckon the first player will be eliminated? How soon do you reckon people will be able to start removing players from the game? What's the curve on that?
10 minutes to remove Marino?
I think, like, you will have... In the first hour, you should have, like, somewhere between 75% of a fleet to maybe 150% of a fleet. That fleet can, depending on what type it is, can actually take out level 1 stations. Probably in 2 trips though, but it's very dangerous to build a station close to somebody in the early game if you do not protect it, because it's only going to have a couple of buildings in it and it's going to be easy prey because all the units do bombing damage. Right now it's not possible to one-shot a station because I need some programmer time to change how bombing works. Right now, the way combat works in that zone is there's 1 round of combat and survivors bomb the station, just like we have sabotage today. What needs to be changed there is that the survivors bomb the station until they have finished spending all their station bombing damage. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like if they target a building and destroy it, then they have some, like, and they spend station bombing on that, and then they have some left, and then they target another one, see if they can destroy that one.
That's actually going to be pretty interesting to watch in action.
Alright, a couple more questions from chat. Tristan asks, what is your ideal way of winning a server as Night Corps? Radiating people that are above you last minute, or going for pure combat, or radiating your opponents is labor nodes?
For Nightcore, I think they kind of have to be diplomatic. However, because the stealth cards now fit industrials, you can actually be a dick in hiding if you want to. You can, like, if you spy. So one of the things that I really want from this is that spying and vision gives you information to act upon. So if you can see that somebody doesn't have a scanner, or they don't have the extra scan strength building in a station, if you find a target where you can go stealthily at them, you should actually do that, especially if they're your neighbors. So having a scanner has never been more important in the game.
Even more important than food server?
Yes.
Perfect. I don't think I've built a scanner in ages, actually, in the normal start mode, so I've actually got to build a scanner for once. It's impossible.
If you don't have good visions on your own stations, you should rightfully feel paranoid about incoming stealth bombers.
And stealth indies, of course.
Of course. But the question was, like, how to play Nightcore. I think so. There's a trade-off. The higher your ability, like the greater your ability to sow radiation, the lower your ability is to wage war. Right? The more fleets you spend on industrials, the fewer fleets you have on combat. So for Nightcore, the concealed docking bay hex on the map is super important to give you those extra fleet slots. So if you claim that hex, you get an extra fleet in your empire. So for me, as a Nightcore player, I would irradiate my neighbors with stealth to kind of keep them back a little bit, because the time they spend building industrials is time they're not building other units. I would try to irradiate my neighbors. For the end game, I would probably wait to plop down some fortresses to claim some extra area, and hopefully I will have targets within range where I can, like, take out a portion of their claim to put them lower in the rankings. Hopefully there's also a special hex that gives you 10 extra points. It's basically worth 11 claim points. So those are prime targets for the end game to hit with your irradiations.
Do you feel like there's going to be politicking with the Night Corps player, where they're going to go, hey, don't come after me and I can irradiate your ally over there? I feel like there's going to be a political atmosphere with deals being made for the Night Corps player.
I think that's unavoidable, and partly the reason for that is because maybe I shouldn't say that. What I think is the best way to behave in Dead Zone is that you never initiate an attack on another player, but if a player is under attack, you should attack that player as well. So, like, don't attack anybody unless they're already under attack.
So, kind of like just jump on the bandwagon with hostilities.
I think it seems to me like a good way to play it, but but of course, like, if you are on an attack, then you're open to an attack. So I don't know. It feels like, playing the way the game could be good, but then some Gatos Fleetos guy is just going to go way ahead in card quality, just have better fleets and better stations than you do.
Yeah, go ahead, Lo.
I have 4 questions on hold. First of all, from Wave, are ship stats gonna be changed compared to normal Starborne?
The models.
No, if
The stats, the base stats.
Yeah.
Oh, they're drastically changed. Yes.
I've also, to add to the question, all ships have bombing, right? And now
Except for industrials.
Except industrials.
Even light fleets.
Yeah, all units. Just like, we only have corvettes, Pats, and scouts, and then the heavy version of them: destroyers, frigates, and recons. There are no troop carriers, no gunships, no capital ships.
So but they're all gonna have bombing apart from industrials.
Yes.
That does open up a lot.
Okay, second question from Nalzia. Why did you go with the idea of one person winning? Starborne is known for its politics/team play. Having teams of 2 or 3 would promote team play and politics instead.
It's a different game mode. It's just completely different. It's something you do to do something different from Starborne while still having a familiarity with the theme of Starborne. It's also part of, like, we are prototyping. We are testing stuff out. We are using this quick process of producing new ways to play Starborne to figure out what is fun, what can we incorporate in sovereign space. It's just a test, man. It's not something set in stone. Maybe it will be small alliances, maybe not.
Yep.
But
Plus, I would argue that while it's kind of free for all, now diplomacy is even more important, and that includes both making teams and backstabbing people.
Diplomacy is going to inevitably become part of the game because there's always going to be a matter of, hey, this guy's under attack. Do I help him in return, or do I attack him as well, or do I irradiate this guy attacking him and go after that person? There's always going to be politics, and you can't.
Think of it this way: it's a fun way to see how the politics works when the only vested interest in having an alliance is a temporary one. So, but also remember, like the format for the 5 servers, that the top 5 of each server advance to the final server. So there's definitely going to be we're going to see some people cooperating there to kind of make sure that we both end up in top 5 at least, or we 3.
So can we have a recap on how the test will go? So for the first 5 servers, there's going to be 5 winners in each server, right? Is that correct?
Yes. So we're going to have 5 servers, and out of those 5 servers, the top 5 each will populate the final server of 25 people.
Okay, then and then now 3 questions on hold. One from Tristan. How does the stealth table look? Can Night Corps Industrials outstealth a Max Scanner?
Let me see. I think I've recently actually done the stealth table. Let me see. I think this is up to date. So yeah, screenshot this. So I think I did this on Tuesday. I think this is correct.
Okay, I'll take a screenshot. It's not the best quality, but it'll do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is correct. Yeah. So basically, you're like at 500 from your stations. Night Corps will be able to go above that in some scenarios, but normal scouts and recons probes will have 600. So, and I'm not sure that in the final version of this that we're gonna have probes from scouts and recons or sabotage from them, but they are there for now.
Alright, then next question from Roadhip. What happens if you have 11 out of 11 fleets and then you lose that 11th fleet shot to radiation or bombing?
I'm pretty sure that when you lose a fleet, when you go below it, that you cannot move your other fleets. You have to disband the fleet.
So
it's actually a point on my to-do to verify that interaction, what happens.
And then the last one, also from Tristan. Can we get the details on how ship stats change? So like the base, firepower, health, bombing and production time.
I'm not sure it's going to be helpful because these might actually change before we go live for everybody, but sure. Let's see. Down. Wait, why don't I just post these pictures in chat? Like, yeah.
Law has been posting them for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So let me see.
Also for the viewers, did I miss any questions or? Think not.
So these are the current stats. Just the firepower, HP, bombing, and speed. These numbers are not very understandable. Let me see. This is better. Here, let me see. So these are the current costs.
Yeah, for now, I'll just pin the pictures and we can put them somewhere else later.
Yeah, I'll post edit them in. No problem.
Oh, and the cargo is changed as well, and the XP and stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff that's changed, but these should be enough to get you Axel Warriors churning.
Yes, the actual people who want to see all the numbers and pre-plan should have plenty of ammunition now, even if they are subject to change.
Okay.
So, given that you have a 50% time reduction cost on your units, then this is probably a more interesting picture. Yeah, it's also worthy to note that there's this kind of new system where unit classes have prime stats. So, like, corvettes have the prime stats of firepower and bombing. Patrols have the prime stats of firepower and hit points. And scouts have the prime stats of hit points and bombing. So whenever you get bonuses, non-card, like bonuses from buildings for these units, they only increase the prime stats. When the fleets level up, they only increase the prime stats.
Alright, and then one very important question from Exorbitant. What faction are you gonna pick, Snoogms?
I'm not sure I'm going to be playing. I'll play the in-house test, but I might actually be an observer.
You gotta play Snoogms. We gotta bomb you. I mean, already. I mean, have fun.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that if I join the map somewhere, I would have to be incognito, just so that everybody just doesn't gang up on me.
Who would gang up on poor Snoogms? It's never happened before.
All of you!
Okay, Exo is rephrasing his question. What faction are you picking tomorrow?
I was thinking either Gatos or Leapaches. Because I really want to try out the... So the idea with Gatos is that it should be worth your while to build units early, and you should be able to card them better than your opponents. So I want to kind of feel if that's working out as intended.
Yeah, on the Gatos Fritos, when I first saw the stats, I felt that they might be a bit underpowered, but then I realized, I think if you go Gatos Fritos, you're gonna want to rely on raiding other players, and instead of getting ahead, you want them to get behind a bit.
Yes. So there's also like, how bad does it feel to be hit early game by a Gatos Fritos player? How much does the Gatos Fritos player gain? Like, the cargo has gone way down on the units, but in the early game you are very tight on resources. So taking a little bit from somebody and gaining a little bit might be enough. Maybe it's not. We'll see. Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that, like, the intended playstyle for Gatos Fritos is to make life, like, be quick in the early game, abuse your neighbors to establish a power base. That's like the intended playstyle for them. You should be better equipped. You should have more units.
There's also one question I'm interested in, as I may or may not be playing Nightcore. Will the labor penalties be out of supply penalties be changed at all? So
no, we haven't changed them at all right now. However, what's radically different in Dead Zone and Sovereign Space is that there are no bonuses that are supplied by. So all the bonuses you stack up in your stations or your empire, they are all empire-wide. If one of your stations goes out of supply, you don't lose any bonuses by supplying your fleets from another station.
But if a fleet suddenly becomes out of labor, the same penalties as Starborne apply, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't done any changes there.
Perfect. I'm asking for a friend, you see.
Of course.
Alright, a player, Lord Mac, is asking basically from what the income will be. Station harvest, raiding, outposts, anything else?
I can just show you. You guys want to see?
Yes, let's see. Yeah, let's have a look.
So this is maybe an hour and a half old server. This is the size of the map. And this is how much radiation has been created passively just by the game mode.
Ah, yes, my favorite.
So we have yet to find the correct balance for how aggressive this should be. And right now, this starts happening even while we're waiting for 10 minutes.
So the answer to the question, Snoogms, should be whatever's balanced, double it.
Okay. So, but we were thinking about where the maybe I should preface this with show you a little bit about the how it's set up. So think of this is basically the basic structure of the map. This white, gray, and yellow thing. The yellows are your starting zones, like one player starts in each of these. The white ones are the zones that have stars in them, and these also have the special axes. And the gray zones have usually a lot of resources and ice, and they also have the credit hexes. So every player is surrounded by three, like except for the edges, we always have to give some. There's always going to be something different for the edges, but like every player that's not on the edge will have 3 ways to expand if they choose to go for special hexes, or 3 ways to expand if they choose to go for resources and credits. There's very like if you this is like 5 stations, and if I started, there, my empire would span this area. Obviously, if another player started here, we are already overlapping quite seriously with 5 stations. But the way each of these works right now is that they have something on the blue, something on the yellow, something on the green, and when I match these up, you get these clumps of things like this.
Oh wait, did you mean that players can only build a station in a nearby area, or can you just freely build your station anywhere?
You can build your station anywhere. And as a surpassing player or playing boards, you have 200 speed building your stations if you like. So you can go pretty far. So if I go to resource view mode, you can kind of see how these clumps appear here that have stuff in them.
Oh,
and if we go ahead.
So, for example, refineries are gone and resources are.
No, I just wanted to explain like how the map is built up so you can understand where your resources are coming from. So if we go into my station here, I can build, and notice that I can build any type of refinery that I like. So in the early game, if you decided what you want to do, I can take a look around, and I am plagued by, like, look at this clump over here. That's a lot of crystal. So I might think, okay, patrols and frigates might be a thing, and I might want to try and get this clump of crystal under my domain. So for that, hang on. So I'm kind of light on metal in my area, so I might do like 2 metal and 1 gas, and then go and claim that crystal thing. Let me just build these guys. So you can see they are rather quick to build. It doesn't take long. And in my first station, I'm probably going to go almost all of industrial buildings. So improved mining facility makes it harvest more, and extra production building, so I can tune my station better. In tier 2, I would get improved trading port. I noticed that like all the names are very descriptive, because when you guys come in and play, I don't want you to go through a lot of some fancy names and then understand what they mean, because when you spy somebody, if you take a look at this organization, improved scouts, improved patrol ships, improved corvettes. When you spy somebody, you can just kind of quickly see what unit types they are improving, and that gives you information about how they're playing.
Yeah, it's a fast-paced server, and you don't have the time to actually check everything. You just need to see it and know what it is.
Yes. So I'm doing my best to make information highly absorbable, so you guys don't stutter on making your decisions. So we were talking about generate resources, so like extra production building, better mining facility. Over here we have freighters and streams. This is a very good building to prepare for your second station. Your trading port gains 1 radius. In tier 3 we have the improved resource exchange. It's now 1.5. So everybody can go down to 2.5 resource exchange everywhere. And then additional station harvest. In tier 4 we have mining colony and that also unlocks harvesting resource fields. So if you have the credits to craft the mining colony cards, this is insanely good. And then of course the industrial complex that we're all used to, except its bonus now is 20%. And notice here, this building is really, really nice as well.
More resources. I do love that building.
Yeah, more resources. And of course, improved fortress competes with station claim radius, because that's part of the thing that you want to maximize in the game to win. And this is an empire-wide effect. If you have 3 of these, you have 60 speed while attacking everywhere.
Ouch.
So if we take a look at the organizations, you see improve unit types, light unit types, improve heavy unit types. So if you spy 2 or 3 stations, and you can see he's improving destroyers in all of them, and he's improving patrol ships in all of them. You know that he has patrol ships and destroyers, unless he's not just to have no bonuses and just to confuse the people that spy him.
Well, wait,
These are. Go ahead.
So the extra speed for attacks, is that just assaults and raids, or also sabotage and I assume the special movement type from Les Apaches?
It's for raid, assault, and motitus. Motitus is the Le Apache's movement type.
So,
Empire-wide effect, of course.
do you mind showing us how you'd remove radiation, just so we can get an actual visual representation of how it would work?
Let me see.
What is the radiation of indies, or is it being lost, or is that calculated randomly?
Sorry, second?
What's the ratio of industrials that you lose to creating radiation?
It's 10 per radius. So
10
if I go here, it's currently now in hex. Remove radiation. Wait, let me just turn on ultra fast mode. Da-da-da. So you see I have 100 industrials. They go clean it up, and now I have 90. And now it's gone.
Yeah, that seems... So how long would that movement have taken, roughly, on the actual game? So you lose 10 industrials and your precious time.
Mm-hmm. So this one's going to take me 20 minutes, but I don't have a start gate, and all the you can see you're going to lose 10 industrials, but Stargate will reduce this significantly. And of course, if we go to the outpost cards, you can see that they also include radiation movements, both clearing and spreading. So when you craft these cards, you're gonna clean up faster, build.
So it does include radiation movements.
Yes.
That is very sad for me.
But remember, like most players will only have a single industrial fleet. If you can be sneaky, you can schedule your stealthy industrials to land their radiation on labor just before you land your attack.
So what's the maximum amount of fleets you can get?
It's 10 at the moment, but...
So 10 industrial fleets.
But we have this little cool building here, which is called Concealed Docking Platform. You can see it's a docking platform inside of a little asteroid. If you claim this, you can see I have 2 out of 10 fleets, but if I cheat a little bit here, it doesn't update until I relog. But I've tested it. This would go now up to 11.
So these are going to be very, very important for you to capture then?
Yes.
Good.
That's the whole thing. It's going to be, and you're going to be conflicted. Like, do I want to go for some cool bonuses? Do I want to increase my credit output, or do I want to go for the resources that I need?
I got to admit though, seeing that sort of thing in the game makes me really interested in seeing having in the main version of the game. But you get them for all different purposes. I love the idea of, hey, this is on the map. Let's get this objective, so we get this, and there's counterplates to people getting that or stopping them from getting that. And I assume radiation works on it, right?
Yes.
Asking for a friend.
So what's going to happen is you guys, everybody can augment. You're going to start with, I need to balance this before we go live, but right now you start with 2 augmentation points, and you get them back every 15 minutes. And there are going to be hexes on the map that allow you to get them back faster. And the same goes with the spies. You start with a limited pool. You're going to get 4 back every hour. I said every minute before, didn't I? I meant you get 4 augmentation points back every hour. Same with the spies, and then there are going to be hexes and buildings that reduce this, so you can do more.
I gotta say, there's a lot of radiation, so even if there was no Night Corps players, you're still gonna have to deal with this radiation problem, and it seems so... It just seems so amazing. I can't express my love for this mechanic.
Yes, okay, so this isn't balanced yet. We're going to get a lot of feedback from the in-house test, which hopefully goes on tomorrow. And then we'll kind of know how annoying this is, how detrimental this is, how much it should be. At least we'll have like the real first taste of it.
There's got to be an annoying to counterplay ratio, right? You got to be able to counterplay it, but it also got to be a bit annoying to counterplay. You got to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when currently all the stars, if you go look at the star systems, they're gonna have 3 different types of some cool hexes. Like this is an ever-living observation center, which decreases your spy cooldown. This is an abandoned mothership. If I remember correctly, it gives 10% firepower to all your fleets.
Ooh.
This is large debris. This is going to give you, like, if you can see, I have 3k credits per hour, and this guy gives you, I think, 6k right now. So if you claim this hex, your credit income is going to be more than doubled. That
is very, very powerful, right there.
This guy here is the ever-living lair. I think we're going to read. Currently, it's called Ever-Living Sector HQ, but because there are multiples of them, that name doesn't fit anymore. So it's probably going to be called a lair because it's like hidden in a planet. I like it. Look at that. Look at this. Like this, they have these.
What do they do then, Snoogms?
This hex is worth 10 extra victory points.
Ah.
It's worth 11 claim. This guy, what's this guy? Weapons facility. I think this guy increases your class bonus empire-wide. Let's see if we can find some more. These are the secret mines. If you have a hex like this, then you increase the HP of all your stations buildings by 10%. So it's important to note that you can have 2 of these and get 20% more HP, but claiming this with more than 1 station doesn't do anything.
And I'm guessing radiation is radiation still.
Yes.
Yeah, plus it makes you a target if you claim a lot.
Well, yeah, of course. It looks like there's going to be plenty of things on the map to spur political debates on, hey, this player's got to die.
Yeah. So currently there are some spots where you can build a station and claim all 3 hexes, special hexes. They're going to be a little sparse on resources if you do that, but still powerful bonuses. But notice that if I'm coming from this direction, I can build a station and claim these 2, which also has, a lot of resources around it. So I'm trying to set it up so there's a choice between grabbing all the special hexes and getting resources in labor.
Are there any claim strength cards left into the game for Dead Zone? For a station?
Yes.
Okay.
You have all these.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have a few, and by that I mean think like 8 questions saved up.
Go ahead, yeah.
First of all, from Nandi, how will the 25 players be chosen? Well, I know that first moderators, mentors, other contributors are picked first, but what about the remaining spots?
I honestly don't know yet. I think when we open up, I think like the only thing that feels vaguely fair about that is just first come, first served. However, we would like these players to be experienced Starborne players, because we kind of want to get a hardcore wipe going in this little preview tournament, but it's not right now something that's a rule. So it's just going to be like everybody apply, applications are now open, we take the first 125, we find out who gets preference, and then just by order of application. And also take note, guys, that even though you aren't selected in the first round, somebody might not show up. Somebody might not be there on time, somebody might not make it, so we're going to have a list of reserves as well.
And then a quick question before I continue with the list. How can people apply your ware?
We'll make that known in next week.
Alright.
We'll give a good advance on it so everybody can know. Like, it's gonna open up at this time, this day.
Okay, so then a question from Wave. Is influence changed much too? I assume it is.
Yes, it's greatly changed.
Yeah, just going through the list. Hold on.
So that's one of the things that we need to find a good spot for. How fast you earn stations, how many you should have.
Yeah. I want to have as many stations as radiation, of course.
The next question was from Tristan. Will the survey mode with alt scroll for resources exist in that zone? But I see it's already there, correct?
Yeah.
Let's see. Answer yes. Next one from Wise. Can a station hex be radiated? And if not, is it considered to be put in? I only need it just to be green. It doesn't have to have any effects.
How was that? Did I already pick a faction? Let me see. Let's just test it out how it is currently. Let me see. Here we go.
The best faction has been selected.
If I go hex, no wait, where is it? Create radiation. So you can see radius is 1, and if I increase the cargo, I still can't get it to 2. Let me see. But let's just create. Wait, first. No, where was it? It was hex. No. Damn it.
Developer life.
Yeah, let me see.
Isn't it top right, that hex?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I remember now. You cannot put it directly on top of a station. There was some technical limitation about that. It's not something we want, but that's what it is right now. But let's see if I put radiation right next to it. I think it should go green. Yeah, they go green. So we actually want you to be able to put it right on top of outposts and stations, but there were some technical limitations that would have cost us some time. So for now, we've abandoned that just to make sure we make it on time for tomorrow.
Is station claim radius being still the same as it is in the normal version?
Station claim radius.
Yeah, at maximum. Is it still the same as the base game?
Yes.
Just wondering for how the interaction.
Per level, and then you can build a building to increase it to 5.
Okay.
Alright, next one from Nausea. Will there be achievements and build hours?
Not in this first versions. There are some achievements just to kind of help you with the early game. I think they're all here. This is all of them, and it's just kind of to bridge the gap of resources. You can see how low these resource amounts are. That's more of an indication of how little resource you need to do stuff. Because this is actually a really nice bonus. This will build a few buildings for you and a few units.
And no build hours, I assume?
No build hours.
So there's going to be no build hours at all. So staying on your computer for those 4 hours and actually doing everything is going to be vital.
Okay, 3 more questions. First from Tristan. If all fleets in a fleet are destroyed, is it automatically teleported back to its supplier?
Yeah, just like normal Starborne.
Road hip. There's still missile battery radius cards, right? I assume so.
Yes.
Answer yes. And then from Wave, he asked, what's with the black clouds? I see a couple on your screen right now.
So this is actually a drone cache, but there's something wrong with the model. These are supposed to be Harveys. So this is a hex that lets you use more augmentations throughout the course of the game. But there's also other clouds like this one. This is actually large debris. This is a debris from some previous battle, and owning this hex gives you credits per hour.
Alright. we'll begin wrapping up the podcast with the last few questions.
Yeah, it's important to note, like what Y said. I never said there weren't supplier stations. I said there were no bonuses that say supplied from. The fleets are still assigned to stations, and if that station goes out of supply, you have to assign them to another station so you can use them.
I have a quick question myself. Does radiation randomly pop up, or is it just pre-generated?
Yep. Randomly.
Does it mean it can like randomly radiate like a part of your station, or for example, if you make a station, radiation can randomly make you bounce?
No, it will just stack. Look here. So this is 1 hex radiation. Well, here's a 2 hex radiation. That's overlapping 2 other 1 hex. They just stack like this. If I clean up this one is still left behind.
Yeah. But I meant, for example, say you make a station on a clean hex, but then a random radiation pops up. Is it possible that your fleet gets bounced back then?
They will bounce.
It's slightly inconvenient.
Yeah.
That's radiation. That's going to be very, very fun to play around.
But like I said, we still have to figure out what is the good rate of radiation, and we have yet to make a feature where it doesn't start the first 15 minutes of the game, so you're not going to get screwed right away.
So I'll ask one more question before we end the podcast, Snoogms, and that's going to be, what is your own personal favourite faction in the game?
Yeah, what's your favorite faction and why is it Night Corps?
Mine is probably Lay Apaches. I just think you can do such wonderful things with them. The resource exchange bonus is really good, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if you build defensively as a Lay Apaches, that you can break down most defenses in the game. And I think that's going to be fun. It's going to be tricky to get to that part if I don't start with a Gatos Fritos guy next to me or a crazy Night Corps player. I just want boards around me, nothing but boards.
Hello there.
Biggles, if you bump even one board enclavement, I'm going to bum you out.
You're going to try. I'm going to go after all the boards players as a radiation player. I'm very lucky.
Target!
Exactly.
No bumping board players. Board lives matter.
Alright, thank you, Lorantine and Snoogms, for being guests on our lovely podcast. And
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Snoogms, for actually giving us some visual teasers and explaining a bunch of stuff for the new game mode.
Did you notice the new nebula?
I did notice the new nebula.
Where?
Oh, that's so pretty. Sorry, you were ending the podcast?
Yeah, I was ending the podcast. Right. Thank you everyone for coming. We're going to do a after podcast chat and everyone's welcome. So yeah, thank you for attending. Thanks for our lovely guests. And I'll see you next podcast in 2 weeks.
And one more thing. Thank you, Lorantine, for actually asking the stuff that Biggles won't.
Yes? Yeah, yes. Right. Thanks everyone. Let's hop over to everyone's welcome.